Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. We are going to start about a minute. And for those, thank you for coming. For those who already seated, please scan the QR code again so you can access Slido. And I will start with this. Thank you so much. It's okay if you already submit the answer. You are free to do so because I will start on time, which is now. So, yeah, because we have 3 speakers, and I do want to have this session to have more time for discussion. So, yeah, so I'll wait for another 30 seconds. And you are welcome to submit your answers now. And I did actually conduct a similar poll using Hoover, but I think it will be more interactive using Slido as the opening of our session. And I believe you can also submit questions using Slido, if I'm correct. So feel free to do so, or orally share your question during the QA after the 3 presentations. All right, I am going to officially start. So thank you everyone for joining this session. It's a session called Breaking Down Silos. Should be a roundtable discussion about persistent identifiers, what you may hear about PIDs, ORCID in editorial research management and different workflows. So I'm the Editorial chair. I'm now the ORCID engagement manager. Today we also have the other 2 presenters. One is Jessie from the Education University of Hong Kong, and Scott Adams, now acting as an independent publishing consultant. Do you want to say hi? Hi. Yeah. Yeah, and to begin with our session, I do want to start with a bit more interactive element. So let me also, it's kind of the, since this session is about breaking down silos or silos, so I do want to hear your feedback about the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear about this. Okay, so inefficiency, that's a very big word, and also hierarchy, duplication politics, etc. Okay, good. But I did see some kind of interesting, like isolated inconsistency or hierarchy. Okay, good. And so I'm going to move to the, okay, maybe another 30 seconds. And also the word closed. Abstraction, isolated, somehow becomes big now. Great. Interesting to see how you feel about these concepts. Disinterest too. Ignorant, maybe. All right, thank you. And I'm going to move to the next question. So the next question is, okay, then what is the key factor contributing to break down silos? Good talking, that's exactly what we are going to do today. And communication, for sure. Collaboration, oh, I love those words so much. I'll wait for another minute or so. Empathy, that's also a very important part. Understanding infrastructure licensing. All right, thank you so much. I think actually really just project a lot of good ideas and concepts that all should work together to break down silos. Openness, yes, for sure. All right, then I am going to then move on to presentations. So let me start by doing that and okay. Yeah, and today I do want this session to be more interactive, so it's really a session to exchange success and challenges. So we already start with Slido. And yeah, so my presentation today is about no more silos from the PIDs perspective, like ORCID as a one of the PID infrastructure providers to power research connections. So let's start from ideal world that everybody wants. Now, everyone in the research community, we want the integrated, connected research ecosystem. So better tracking of research outcomes. We want accurate attribution and enhanced discoverability. I should also mention in the research community world, there are actually different stakeholders and different parts. As you see, research organizations, publishers, funding organizations, and researchers themselves, etc. But this kind of the high-level goals that everyone actually wants to achieve about reduce administrative burden and also to have a network, a seamless network where trusted data flows automatically between founders, publishers, and universities. So as we know and imagine, silos fragmented research, because I think earlier in today's keynote session, actually the professor mentioned a lot about fragments, trust infrastructure as well. So silos fragment research, whereas PIDs, persistent identifiers, actually connect the dots. So PIDs, as you may hear, I should also mention, just a quick poll. So everyone here, if you never heard about ORCID, please raise your hand. Okay, we do have newcomers, okay, which is also good then. Yeah, we are going to still have a bit of introduction. So PID is called persistent identifiers. It's called PIDs. So they enable entities. We have different PIDs for different entities, ORCIDs for people, researchers. We also have DOI for research outputs, or DOI for grants, or ROR for research organizations. And when using PIDs, so it's not just about a string of numbers, you also have metadata information describing those entities about organizations, people, and objects. They can flow reliably between different systems and forming a very important building blocks of open research infrastructure. So it's very important to ensure entities in this ecosystem are uniquely identified, connected, so we have created reliable links. Yes. Okay, and over the years, it's good that there have been empirical PIDs cost-benefit analysis at different national levels. So in Australia, in Czech, in Ireland, and in UK, there are already studies to discover the benefits of adopting PIDs. And these reports are publicly available, so you're welcome to take a look. And for new friends, so ORCID works with different national or disciplinary specific or proprietary IDs across the world, across the system. So ORCID is a free, unique PID for individuals engaged in research and innovation. So ORCID is independent, non-for-profit organization registered in US. We are still a small team with 43 staff globally. So ORCID is sustained by membership fees open to all organizations. Welcome to join ORCID. And ORCID as a nonprofit, we are governed by board of directors, not by commercial values. So, and today we also have ORCID CEO joining us, so it's good. And ORCID, the important notion is that ORCID as one of the PIDs in the ecosystem, we are not going to compete with each other, so instead we are trying to collaborate. And recently we also have another report, it's about its ORCID and, not ORCID or, so you're welcome to take a look. And so what does ORCID do? So ORCID connects research and researchers via links to different PIDs by integrating with systems. So in principle, ORCID provides three main services. As you can see, the ORCID ID, and this is called a ORCID record or profile. They have different research information from employment, education, or even like social links, etc. And the third is called APIs. So basically, they are mechanisms enable validated research information exchange and dissemination. So, okay. I think this is a very important slide because now you already know that ORCID is for researchers, and researchers are welcome to, sign up for ORCID ID. Actually, both researchers and organizations play a role in breaking down silos. So PIDs work only if researchers and research organizations both adopt them, using them, and being connected. So from the ORCID perspective, it means actually two parts. The first, of course, researchers need to register for an ORCID ID first. And the second part is that organizations or systems to adopt ORCID to integrate, you may hear the word about integrate, with ORCID via ORCID's API to just enable validated information exchange and to ensure interoperability. So here I also want to share something maybe new to you. It's actually, I checked that actually Asia leads the global ORCID user presence. So Asia represents the largest block of ORCID user globally. So then the next is actually Europe, and then North Americas and South Americas. So in short, nearly 4 out of every 10 active researchers globally are actually based in the APAC or Asia region. So you also see the map. You can see the actually Asian part accounts the largest block of ORCID users. Let me check how much time. Okay, good. But however, so in terms of recall I share, so to ensure PIDs are valuable, both researchers and organizations, they need to adopt ORCID, both. Yet there is actually a very kind of asymmetrical infrastructure gap in Asia. What does that mean? So it actually means that among those systems or platforms that actively integrate with ORCID or can be synchronized with ORCID to ensure research information exchange, etc., only about 208 platforms are actually from this region. And actually among those 200-something, half of them actually in the Pacific, Australia, New Zealand part, so not Asia. And recall that, so we have so many researchers here already using ORCID, but somehow they have no corresponding infrastructure those researchers can actively engage with. It means the institutional adoption of PIDs is still very underrepresented in Asia. So let me take Indonesia just for example. So actually there are about 180,000 something active researchers using ORCID in Indonesia, but there is only one platform so far that can be configured to fully synchronize or use with ORCID. That means even researchers in Indonesia, they want to actively using ORCID to create more values, but organizations haven't been able to provide a relevant corresponding research infrastructure or environment to do so. And so the current landscape, as I share, shows a gap between ORCID registration versus integration. So there is a very significant drop-off between the number of researchers who have an ORCID ID and number of number of platforms that researchers can use to connect ORCID ID with universities, publishers, and funders. So again, the consequence, data silos remain because researchers still face redundant data entry into multiple systems, and organizations lack interoperability to share and reuse this validated information to create a trusted network across different research workflows. And I think the diagrams are pretty good, and just for the record, I use Gemini to generate this, and so I think this kind of self-explanatory about how those different platforms are not be able to connect it. Of course, then there's no way for those different stakeholders or organizations to exchange research information. And for this part, that researchers, they have ORCID ID, but if they want to use into different workflows, they have no place to use, in short. And okay, so from silos to synergy, recall that we want a very well-connected research ecosystem. So AdaptPIDs can actually help to power a connected research ecosystem. So connectivity is a new productivity. Embed PIDs into different research workflows to connect people, places, and things. And also by our little Slido pool, we know that we don't want isolate, we want connected. So it's adopting PIDs and it's ORCID and, not ORCID or. And next, I'm going to welcome the other speaker, Jesse Shao, to share his experiences from institutional adoptions. So the floor is yours, Jesse.
Thank you. So it's my honor to join the session. So with all the friends. So I was the ORCID board member. So when I worked in Hong Kong Library, and also I worked with Scott in the Giga Science for like more than 8 years. So for my first job, and yes, so I'm Jesse. So currently I'm working at the Education University of Hong Kong. So I'm the director of the institutional data and research. So I'm sharing the, so my topic is the roles of the PIDs in the higher education institutions. So first of all, I will introduce my university first. So the Education University of Hong Kong. So we are the one of 8 public funded university in Hong Kong. So we are dedicated to the advancement of the multidisciplinary teaching, learning, and research. And actually, our universities provide the teacher education for over a century, so we have a very long history. But we have just become as the university for 10 years before, so this year is our 10 years anniversaries. So regarding to the rankings, because all the universities are very focused on the ranking, and my office is dedicated for provide the data to the ranking agency. So since last year, so last year is our university first time to join all the rankings. So you can see the results. So as the young university, so we achieved the quite good result. We are the young, small university. So for the THE times higher education, so we are ranked in the top 200. It's a 195 position in the THE World University ranking. And for the QA subject ranking, so we are ranked in the 12th in the world for the educations. And also we have the total 5 subjects ranked in the top 350s in the world. So in Asian, so we are ranked in the 152. And our university, we have the 54 Stanford top 2% scholars. So it's across 18 subjects, so not just educations. So regarding to my office, so where the name is the Institutional Data and Research. So from the name, so you can know, we are for the data and for the research analysis. So we are leads and coordinates the major university-wide development and the research initiative. So we're collecting all the data from different departments, different stakeholders, internal, external, and then we provide the data analysis and learn the strategic insight to support the data-informed decision-making for the senior management. So mainly focus on the president, vice president, and the faculty deans and department head. And also we are submit data to the government, and also we are submit data to the international ranking agencies. So after we collect those data, so we also develop and build the different kind of dashboard to measure our individual scholar performance. So we have a list of KPI, and also we measure the faculty performance and international collaborations, and also the funding status for the faculty and the scholars. So we have a huge amount of dashboards for different purposes. So how to build those dashboards? So the foundations is data, because our topic is to break down the data silos. So the foundation is the institutional-wide data structures. So briefly speaking, so we have the two major components. So one is our internal data, and another one is the external data. So for internal data, so we set different pipelines, so either manually collect, or we have some automatically pipeline to collect data from different office. For the research data, we collect from research office. For the patent license data, we collect from the knowledge transfer office. And also for the staff student data, we collect from the HR and the registry. So for external data, so nowadays we have the huge number of database, research intelligence platform. So I will try to maximize those data. So we're collecting the data from Scopus, Civil, Cravians, Web of Science, Insight, ESI, CrossDrive, and THEQS, and also ORCID, and also the OpenX, because the OpenX provides the open source database, which we can use a lot of data from the OpenX, which is very useful. So after we collect all the data, so we are doing the processing. We have different pipeline to build our internal database, and then we will do some analysis, and then we can report and visualize those database. And for different data submission tasks, we will have some specific data cleaning process for the data submission, such as we submit data to the government, we have the separate workflow to do the data cleaning, and also similar to the ranking agency. So we have the different data cleaning workflow to prepare the data. So the data accuracy is very important, because you can see we're collecting all the data from different data source. So and then we also provide the report to the senior management to do the strategic decision making. So for those inaccurate data, which can lead to the misguiding policy and the resource allocation. So we need to make sure the data is accurate. So when we provide the data to do the strategic decision making, and also when we provide the data to the ranking agency, so the data is also need to correct, because the correct data will means our institutional integrity and accountability. So the data is very important for our office and also for our university. And also in another way, so when we're doing some research analysis, so we need to provide the very accurate information, because that means those reports will affect to our faculty and resources, and also will affect to our individual researchers' funding and the resources. So everything needs to be very accurate. So here, how we use the PIDs. So actually in our university, so I think similar to the most of university in Hong Kong. So it's like every scholar in our university, we have the ORCID, and then we implement or we add it in our university institutional repository. So in our university, we are using the Pure. So you can see, so in our university scholar profile, so every scholar, you can find the ORCID, and also we will also add the Scopus also ID here. So, and after we have the PID, we will using the APIs, or we are using some web scraping programming to using the PID to get all the author's publication, funding information. So we collect all the information based on the PIDs to build the individual scholars' profiles. And also, so through this, so the PIDs can ensure our institutional data is well accurate and error-free. So here's another function. So we use the PIDs. So here, so I just use Scott as the example. So because when we do some talent recruitment, so every time, so the HR or senior management, so they will ask us to generate the bibliometric report. And also it will use to benchmark with our internal scholars. So why we need to hire this this Scholar, so why this Scholar is better than our internal Scholar. So actually we have the bibliometric report templates. So here, so you can just input the name or just input the ORCID, and then you can find the Scholar name actually is the first one, and then click it, and then click the generate report, and then we will collect all the information using the APIs and the web scraping, and then make the report. And then the report will be used by the HR or the senior management when they do the talent recruitments. So here is here's another example. So I just highlight our individual researchers dashboard, because our university we set up different KPIs. So you can see in our individual Scholar dashboard, you can the scholars can find their research outputs and also find all the research metrics such as the citations, FWCIs, top 1%, top 10%, citation percentile, etc. And also we generate the different subject schemas. So we're using the ASJC, QS, THE, ESI, etc. So we're using different schema to let the scholar know how they contribute to the university ranking in different subject areas. And here you can see for the scholarly output, so actually we are get the scholarly output for using the PIDs, such as we are using the ORCID to find the ORCID profile to see whether to see the number of research output in their ORCID profile. Yes. So I will pass time to Scott.
Thank you, Jesse. I hope I get the job at EduHK after you saw my profile. Yeah. Thank you for being here. I need to thank ORCID for facilitating this and helping me get here. So I'm giving a publishing kind of user case, but it's actually a 3 for the price of 1 kind of case study, because we've got 3 particular use cases that I will try to quickly present so we have time for discussion. So so this use case is from 15 years experience working at GigaScience Press. I finished working there a couple of months ago, but I can give experience of what we did and how we used PIDs and identifiers. And as I've been asked, you know, the challenges and the successes here. So if you don't know GigaScience Press, we've been publishing a couple of journals. GigaScience launched in 2012 and Gigabyte launched in 2020. And we really focused on, a journal really focused on reproducibility. We published data papers, software papers, computational workflows. We did transparent open peer review, really thinking about how we review these research objects and giving credit for doing this kind of assessment. We were different from other publishers in that we have our own data team, data curators who help kind of audit and curate the data associated with papers. And if there's not a subject-specific repository, we would put in our own repository and give it DOIs. And we also really focused on the metadata, the machine readability of these papers. Gigabyte we published with River Valley Technologies, who have this very novel XML-first publishing platform, and so we really focused on the machine readability through that. And so what we were doing, we were in the publishing space, but we kind of went beyond the journal in a lot of ways, thinking about these other things. But these case studies will be useful for journals. So as I said, we were really focused on the machine readability. We have bulk download of all of the content, all openly licensed. And we're really, really focused as well as making sure that in this super rich XML, all of these identifiers, all of these kind of entities that are more comprehensible by machines that are in this kind of package. And so ORCID was a really key identifier here. Obviously, attribution is everything in research. And so we integrated ORCIDs into the journal. We mandated it for submit for the corresponding authors, but we also tried to get as many ORCIDs for the non-corresponding authors as well. this was key for peer review, right? We want to do open peer review, we want to credit peer reviewers, so we worked ORCIDs into the peer review process. So reviewers, if we get their ORCID, we add this, we give DOIs to peer reviews. This would end up and can be displayed in their ORCID profile. So this is another super useful use case here. And the final one was datasets, right? So we have experience as a data repository, and so these authors had ORCIDs, and we made sure this was in the so it's in the Crossref metadata for the papers, but also the DataCite metadata for the associated data, right? So we're using ORCIDs three different ways here, and so. So I was asked about the difficulties, about the challenges. Well, what isn't difficult is that publishing platforms, publishing tech are very well integrated to ORCID. It was super easy. We signed up to ORCID, got membership, and it just kind of plugged in. Integration for the data and peer review side, we had to develop that ourselves, right? So it's been on our development list for a number of years. Other things have been higher priority. It's taken time. We didn't quite get around to doing full integration there, but there's been a couple of workarounds until that has been developed. So for example, on the data side, into the metadata that we register with DataCite, we just put all of the ORCIDs in there, and that worked. Same thing with peer reviews, putting the ORCIDs in the peer reviews, and there's nice different peer review integrations as well with ORCID. So only the submitting authors would validate their ORCIDs in the system. So the other ORCIDs, we would have to manually chase them and collect that information and add that manually into production. So a lot of the ORCIDs are not validated, but we had validated ORCID. So this was the kind of the difficulties, but there have been workarounds. The benefits, ORCID, definitely, a key persistent identifier. We use a lot of other ones as well, right? And there's very key ones like RAW for, organizational and funding identifiers. We're using DOIs for data and everything like this. Many other, IDs and data accessions. And it helps disambiguate these key, parts for humans, for machines, these many different connected research objects. There's a selling point that it's a trust marker, right? That it's the process of registering this. There's some level of trust in getting ORCIDs from people. There are bad actors there. We all know about paper mills and fraud. And yes, in theory, you can create fake PIDs and the like. But it does make things a bit harder, right? And the bad players generally go for the lowest hanging fruit. They're going to go for the journals that aren't pushing for these things and aren't scrutinizing things. So it's definitely added. It definitely has protected us in some way. Having these the reason we were collecting such rich metadata and all of these things, it's improving the discoverability of our content, the search engine optimization, and in this, now people are accessing things via AI more and more. Having more accurate AI outputs, going to the correct things has definitely helped. And we heard anecdotally people were saying, "Oh yeah, we put our abstract into ChatGPT and asked it which journal we should go to, and it suggested Gigabyte." Right? Like the AIs are actually, anecdotally we're hearing stories that the AIs are finding us better. It reduces the friction of third-party integrations, and my final benefit is international fame and fortune. I will tell you about this at the end. So in terms of third-party integrations, you've integrated ORCID, you've gone to the effort to kind of set this up, have all of this in your metadata. So for third-party tools, many of them having already done all of this integration and steps, it makes it much easier to then integrate them. So for example, OA Switchboard, which is a tool that it allows kind of tracking of so institutions. It lets them see where their funded outputs are being published. And because we've gone to the effort to implement RAW and gone to the effort to implement ORCID, it was then super easy just to plug into that, right? You go to the work, you go to the effort setting up ORCID, and it makes all of these sort of downstream steps much easier. and international fame and fortune. Well, we went to a lot of effort, right, focusing on metadata quality. Crossref have these really handy participation reports showing your metadata completeness. ORCID's a really key one of these. It helps you really prioritize and focus. And we were very proactively checking these things. Every so often, we'd see, oh, these are starting to go down, or we'd realize there's a bug, and we'd go and fix these. And so it was a little bit of work, kind of doing these things. We are thinking, downstream of the benefits of this, but just the effort of doing this. Last year, we were awarded the inaugural Crossref Excellence in Metadata Awards. And, it's doing nice things. It's nice to get recognized for this. There's 150,000 journals in Crossref, and we had the highest, we were recognized as having the highest quality metadata of any small publisher. And I think of all 150,000 journals, I think we're number 2 in the entire world, right? So these are the kind of, you want to see benefits and things like that, you can get attention for doing good things as well. So hopefully we'll have some time for discussion now. So yeah. Okay, thank you.
Hello, yes. Okay, I hope everyone here now has a bit of idea about PIDs and success and challenges to adopt those. So the discussion and feedback kind. I will first open to see if anyone has any questions. I think you can all use Slido, but I will just, any question? Yeah.
Hi, thank you for a great presentation. And I'm from the University of Central Florida in the USA. And we started a membership of ORCID a couple of years ago. One of the challenges that we ran into was really getting faculty to adopt it because, and of course, with ORCID, you have a profile, you can actually integrate it with Web of Science and Scopus and all that. But what about for the humanities and social sciences? What are really the best thing? And one of the most common questions I got from faculty regarding ORCID is, can you integrate with Google Scholar? I'm sure that one is pretty new. So that is actually, I'm wondering about whether you have any plans. And the second part of the question is more for Jesse. Who actually inputs the data on ORCID? Because I know that I'm from a very large university, and faculty really want things done for them, and it's just not scalable on my campus. So I'm just wondering who's entering these data for them if they're not doing it themselves. So.
Thank you. I'll just quickly take the Google Scholar part. I don't know. Today we also have ORCID's CEO Chris join us, which is good. He can also provide more current experiences or plans. Or in short, I think we do have plans. Okay. Do you want? Yeah. Welcome.
I'm glad that I brought it.
Well, don't get too excited. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Chillam, Executive Director of ORCID. Thank you all for coming to the session. We would love to be integrated with Google Scholar. Google Scholar, and we've talked to them quite recently, basically has a policy that they don't integrate with anybody. Period, full stop, no discussion. We will keep talking to them. We would hope to make some progress, but the more they hear from the community, that's the #1 request we get from researchers is please integrate with Google Scholar. So feel free to send them that feedback. Feel free to ask your researchers to do, because right now they're an island and they're very, very useful. Lots of people use them, but the Google way is to have all the information and not integrate with other systems, unfortunately. So feel free to start applying pressure. Maybe eventually we'll manage to change their minds. Yeah.
But thank you.
I will hand over to Jesse.
Okay, so thanks for your question. So actually, our university, we also have a lot of scholars from arts and humanity areas. So the suggestion is, so because they have a lot of research output are not indexing the school pass and the Web of Science, so that is why so some of the output cannot be funded in the OK profile. So the one suggestion is they can link with the Crossref. So once the research output get the DOI, so they can show in the OK profile. So another thing is we are trying to work with libraries. So actually I come from the library field 2 years before, and we conduct a lot of workshops to demonstrate that. So if you build your OK profile, put the information in the OK profile, it will help you improve your research visibility. So the only way is that, but I think we can also from the top-down level. So if the senior management, university senior management, they have this kind of policy says we will regularly review your OK profile and learn that. I think every scholar will do it by themselves. But at the moment, so we try to using different PIDs such as school pass ID, OK ID. So we try to using and including the Google Scholar. So I try to using the different ID to build the comprehensive profile. So not just using the single source, we're using the different source to build the comprehensive profile. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think we have time for maybe another 1 or 2 questions. So, okay. Sure.
Thank you very much. My name is Fiona. I'm from the University of New South Wales in Australia. This is a great session. And I would like to ask if you have any unusual or creative stories about increasing the quality and depth of ORCID records. So for example, in Australia, you saw the report, we're doing very well on national PID strategy. My institution has very high uptake. And then you look and there's not a lot of content in those records. So any creative stories you have to share about how to engage researchers with putting more content?
Thank you. So I think this is maybe a question for JC again. But I think I can also share a little bit more from my experiences. Basically, yeah, I think actually from the feedback over the years, I think one of the key parts is actually they should be aligned with the organization's objectives and also the researchers' objectives. For instance, I've heard a lot of universities in Asia region, they actually kind of put ORCID IDs and all other stuff as kind of onboarding materials for newly researchers. That's kind of I think that's a very smart strategy as a part of onboarding process. And also they sometimes tied with kind of internal admin process or sometimes maybe evaluation process too, just to ensure that researchers have, they have the motivation or they just have something that can push them to do so. So yeah, that will be my little feedback.
Okay, so from my experience, so actually in Hong Kong, so the local funder, they have the requirement says so every funded PI, so they should have the OK. But in fact so it's like even we have this kind of requirement, but lots of PI, they just create the OK, but they leave it empty. So let's say we have OK, but I never use it. So until I just prepare the document, I just list the OK. So this is the issue. So even we have the policy, we still need to demonstrate that it will be useful for the scholars. So one point is that so when we do some global talent search exercise, so for example, from the publication, we are very easy to get from the School Pass, Web of Science, Google Scholar. But for the funding information, so actually it's quite difficult to collect the very accurate funding information from different databases at the moment, especially for some countries. So they don't publicize the funding information. But if they can put the funded project in the OK, so that will be very useful for us when we build the bibliometric report or build the research performance report. So, and also they will have more job opportunities for the international wide, right?
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. I think we have time to take one more questions. And also, while we are doing that, I'm also encourage you to once again your Slido. There's the last question I want to check with. Yeah, what is your key takeaway. And yeah, meanwhile, if you do have question, please, we have room for one more question. Okay, sure. And please, meanwhile, use Slido.
I really enjoyed everyone's presentations. Thank you. Estelle, this is actually a question for you. I'm just curious. You mentioned that there are about 186,500 researchers in Indonesia. What is the one platform that integrates with ORCID? I'm curious.
Yeah, sure. So in this context, when I refer to one platform, actually that means we do have one member organization join ORCID so that their platform can be fully synchronized with ORCID. Even at this point, I think they are not doing that to that extent. It's actually a journal association. It's called the Railway Journal Indonesia. It's a journal association, and their use case of ORCID is to adopt ORCID into kind of author services to help them, to help their authors so they can populate information from ORCID to their author's profile. That's their current use case. That's the only platform so far now in Indonesia. Not to mention, actually, we do have active users in Thailand, in Malaysia, but the fact is that no platforms in those countries or communities so far can be synchronized with ORCID. So, yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, we are also having pizza. Thank you. And yeah, I will wait for, maybe a concluding part, because this is a roundtable discussion. I want to invite Scott or Jesse just as a last word about what's your view about challenges, success from the publishing side or from the institutional side. Asia do have a lot of ORCID users, but there are still infrastructure gap. And what's your view about overcoming such as a concluding part for this? I will start from Scott.
We're here in Asia now. It was super interesting seeing the Asia statistics, right? We're 60% of the world's population, 40% of your ORCIDs, but was it like 5% of the integrations, right? So how do you fill that gap? And it is, but also lots of parts of Asia, China. There's so many Wangs and there's so many Roys in India. There's some Asia actually. The disambiguation problem should be enormous here. It's getting these. Trying to get these benefits across. Publishers, we did our bit where publishers started mandate. Not all publishers mandate it now, but you definitely saw a big increase. When Spring and Nature said that everybody needs every corresponding author needs to do it. So I don't know. We just got to keep the pressure up, and that affects things in Asia, right? Like when the publishers tell them to do it in Asia, they take note. So yeah.
Yeah, so from my perspective, because I was librarian before and then I'm working as the institutional research and planning. So I think, so at the moment, the publishers are already done very well, so as Scott mentioned. And also, I think librarians are also done very well, so we are quite keen to promote it every time. So it's a time to raise the awareness for the scholars, for the individual scholars. So they really need to take more time to maintain the PIDs, they maintain the profile. So it's it's only they can spend time in it, so we can build the health environments. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Researchers are still the center of everything. Yeah. In short, and thank you for those who submitting good quality. Yeah. So I would share those. And yeah. So the session ended. Again, thank you for your participation. Yeah.